I have to change this trajectory of my family where I can actually feel what security feels like. I want to know what that feels like. And that has been like such a drive.
Welcome back to At Face Value, where I have honest conversations with women who are building things in their own way. I'm your host, Ria Cartwright. Shaving is one of those last categories in beauty nobody ever thought to reinvent. It was all pink plastic, soap strips, and it has been unchanged for decades. My guest today looked at that and saw the whole opportunity. I have got with me Reid and Gemma Doyle, the founders of Nimbi Supply, a British brand that actually built in America first and a material that didn't exist off the shelf. They believed in it enough to put everything on the line to make it real and took risks in unimaginable ways. I'm talking selling houses and marketing on OnlyFans. This is a conversation about two founders building one thing, about risk, resilience, and what success actually means once you've got it. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome to At Face Value and welcome Anna and Gemma from Nimbi. This is my first and only so far co-founders to join the pod, which is very exciting, a different dynamic. Nimbi Supply is the shaving care brand taking the US and now the UK by storm.
So I'm Anna, founder of Nimbi. We've been on a long journey. We've only been trading for like 18 months. We're very young as a business, but the whole project started many years ago, I think like 2019, 2020, and sort of had the idea to create a women's shaving brand that was not only like better designed and beautiful and desirable, but also had incredible sustainable credentials. And then through that process, I met Gemma, who was a client. So my background is brand and product development. I've produced so many products out into the market. And was doing a rebrand for like a wellness brand. And that's where I met her and then courted her, stalked her. Like, I was like, you have to like come and join me. And I have nothing to offer you. I have no money, but like this idea is going to like pop off.
Just vibes. Yeah, literally.
Just vibes.
Yeah, my background's different.
East, you're west.
Yeah. Yeah, like ex-lawyer, MBA, like done like scale ups for other businesses, ran a family office investment fund, was not a great investor because I got too involved in my portfolio companies, and then decided I should probably get back into early stage. And so, yeah, I was running this wellness brand, met Anna. She smashed the project we brought her in for. And then she was like, I've got a side hustle I want to show you. And it was Nimbi. And so that's how the beautiful journey began for me.
How are you persuaded by Anna to join a shaving brand? And at what point, where were you in your kind of like life career journey? Were you like, do you know what? I'm down for this.
Yeah, I think the timing was right for me. My daughter was like 5 at that time, so I'd done like the hard sort of early childhood years for her, and I was like, okay, I can now like do something a bit different, take some risks. I actually was in a startup at the time where I had taken this like interim CEO role. And in that role, the startup was about 2-3 years old. And I was like, do you know what? I actually need to go earlier, because after 2 or 3 years, you've had, you know, founders who started the business, they've grown it in a different way. They're emotionally attached to the business and the product. And so going in as like a helicopter CEO is actually really difficult unless you've got like a fuckload of capital behind you to really like implement changes. And so I was like, okay, I actually need to go earlier. How am I going to go earlier? And, you know, with my skill set, it's all about sort of like scaling growth strategy, finance, ops, and very much I'm never going to be the person with the idea, you know? So I was like, I've got to find the person with the idea. And so I think that was just sort of like serendipitous to meet Anna at that moment. And you just had that.
I never forget it. And that's why I'm laughing.
Yeah, tell me. We want to hear the meet cute.
She had this prototype.
I called it. I emerged. I was like, you need to meet me.
Yeah, she's like,
so important.
I have to meet you and I have to show you something. So we go and we meet in this like weird matcha cafe place in Mayfair, and she pulls out this razor cartridge.
This ugliest, it's ugly. It's like not even.
It's like the ugliest thing, like the most offensive color. And she kind of places it in front of me, and she's like, "This, I've cracked it." And I was like, what do you mean? And she was like really emotional showing it to me. And I was like, I don't understand what this is in front of me. I've got no idea. But, obviously the backstory to that is, this has already taken like probably about 100 grand's worth of investment, self-funded.
100 grand?
Yeah, I sold my house.
Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
no,
Okay. Let's go there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So how,
Yeah.
tell us
Probably about
how we've gone from thought in the brain to a prototype when you're meeting Gemma at a match
Very
cafe in
hazy.
Mayfair.
It's very hazy. I don't really know any, but basically it was like, so the things that are easier is when they're more controlled. So like, as an example, the design of a razor is like fine. You do a CAD and like you kind of get the idea and like you can design something, right? And it looks beautiful.
I think it's easy for you to say it's easy, but for someone at home has like never done that before.
No, it's
not
easy.
That's
Sorry.
not easy. Were you doing that yourself, or you had somebody else?
Yeah. There's so much that is so beneficial about us being in our 40s, like our career and our like repertoire.
Sorry, I hate to talk about age, but you're both in your 40s.
Yeah.
Fuck! Wow, Nimbi needs some Nimbi skincare.
Nimbi's
like
Nimbying.
supply me up.
It's super odd, actually. Like we look at photos of when we were 30, we're like, what has happened to us? This is like when I get very spiritual and I get really weird. But like I'm like, I think we're happier. I genuinely do.
Yeah.
I think like there's like good energy and like we're up with our like lives. Even though that's kind of painting a very positive picture of like all of the crap that we've gone through, which
Don't worry, we'll get there as well. I can't wait. This is going to be a great episode.
I knew I needed someone like Gemma. Like I know I talk about funding. I know no one who's got any money, right? So like I was like, I don't even know where to go. I'll sell my house. That's the first spot. But like that 100 grand was spent immediately, like basically in like.
And so was that 100 grand? That was before Gemma came on board.
No, yes, partially. Yeah, it was because it was like we were doing prototyping at that point.
And you built the brand.
And I built the brand, yes. Okay. Well, I designed the brand, yeah.
I didn't build it, sorry.
Yeah, we had like the DNA and the bones and
we had,
the world.
and the logo and everything, However, that's also missing. I still see that as idea stage. What I needed was someone like Gemma to come in and actually commercialize it, actually build it with me on all of those hidden things that is much unsexier. Like in terms of those bits.
100%.
Not that you are
but the fundamentals, right?
But the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Like you need the business to be hygienic, you need it to be like properly put together. And as much as I know that I'm commercial and can bring money in, that is not my bag. So like
before I go to Gemma about the money specifically, Anna, when you're saying that like, the 100 grand and you sold your house,
I wasn't the only one, by the way. We just missed that point because it's coming.
Okay, fine. What I love is, and you mentioned that you were kind of quite spiritual and woo-woo, so again, you're in a very safe space because so am I. But how did you have that like belief to take equity from your house at still what you were saying is an idea stage that this was going to work?
I actually don't know the answer to that. I think that like
just blind faith.
I have blind faith. I think I have blind faith generally. I'm like very optimistic person, like hyper ambitious and driven. And like the only thing that I would say from a logical point of view is I've had a track record of like bringing that to other people and other businesses and seeing that commercial success. So I sort of have an inner confidence. But honestly, like there's some values that I think me and Gemma share and bring out in each other that I don't think is everyone. Like where we align on what matters. Like to me, owning the house and it's like a different life now. That I was actually really miserable in that life. Like so there was something of me that was like I would rather put every single part of my savings. This is not even equity. This is like my savings, like into myself and I'm going to go all in. And I continue to go all in. And then Gemma did the same. And like, we continued to do that until we could actually have something that was investable. So
I think it's really important also to have the conversation about how expensive it is to be sustainable.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. This is not normal.
It's not normal. And so when you're asking private investors to put money into your business. If you haven't done it yourself,
Yeah, you look like
and
monks.
you've got to raise a load of money
so
before you even can sell a razor, then you have
Yeah.
to have skin in the game. You've got to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And so,
Were you getting a lot of that feedback from investors? You know, have you deployed your own cash before
but
we
yeah,
sign you a check?
Yeah,
pre-launch,
you
it'll
have
be
to.
the first question that they ask you.
Completely. And also, like, if we're sitting there and like, oh yeah, we're still working, we're still like in our jobs, I'm sorry, no one is going to take you seriously.
Mm.
You have to.
Until
That's
you're
why.
full time,
Yeah,
until
you
you
have
put
to be
your
full
own money
time.
in, people won't take a bet on you. And, I can see why,
Yeah,
because
I think we
you
would.
do take things really, really seriously when you've got no money coming in from any other
Yeah.
So
source
true.
and your backs are to the wall and you've got to make it work. And that is when things get serious and
Yeah,
you really start to push.
but
I
also,
literally read a
especially
quote
you.
last night in the newsletter that said, that your plan has to be dictated by your desire, right? That's ultimately part of the strategy. Like, you can't just hope and wish that you're going to get investment. If that's truly what you desire, then your plan has to
I mean,
dictate that.
that's just.
Yeah.
Well,
How did you
Are we ready to talk about investment now? Or like,
Yeah, that was going to be was literally my next question. How did you then go from that into the investment?
There was a lot to do before we could really ask people for money. So the first thing that we did was we got a grant from Innovate UK, which was great, which helped us do some of our R&D. It
yeah,
wasn't much cash, but it was enough that we could sort of pay for a temporary mold and start to get some prototypes made. We then did the Amazon Sustainability Accelerator, which really sort of was like a 10-week process of like getting
Wow.
us ready for launching the business.
Anna,
Yeah.
your face looks like you're a bit like, yeah, it
no,
was
I
great,
actually
but
got
also didn't love
PTSD
it.
from that year.
Yeah.
I've got
Yeah.
PTSD from that year because I was consulting and then like to bring in more cash. Like the 100K was just like, it's like, so then I worked and like brought more cash into the business. Again, it's been about survival and everything comes down to, even now, by the way, like
Yeah.
everything comes down to the business gets fed first over us.
Yeah.
And I'm not even exaggerating. Like, so like that year, I still kind of think, how did we get through that? Because I was working abroad and like, and then the Amazon thing was in Berlin, and then like it was very, very intense, and they were very demanding of us, like crazy.
And when was this? Just to kind of contextualize, this
It
can't
was
have been that long ago.
summer 23.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
wow.
3 years ago. So we were Amazon Accelerator, building out a sophisticated business plan, understanding how much money we were going to have to spend to be able to start producing like one razor. So when we put all the numbers together and we put the plan together, we realized we were going to have to raise over £1 million to really get things moving. Now, raising over £1 million for a pre-launch consumer product where you only have prototypes and this is 2023, so this is post-pandemic era. So, if we were doing
Yeah,
this
the
in
landscape's
2021,
changed.
when Wild and Suri and all those guys
Yeah,
did it,
yeah.
I'm sure we could have raised £1 million pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We were not in that era anymore. So to raise that $1 million, we didn't know how we were going to do it. So we split it into stages. So what we said is, right, we'll do 250 grand first as like a first close, where we could use some tax incentives to bring in this kind of chunk of money. And then we'll bring it in the final kind of 3/4 after that, once we've got this sort of like first lot sort of paid for. The 250 grand took probably about 2-3 months.
3 months,
Didn't take
yeah.
very long. So we were like kicking and clicking, and it was
Traction, like,
great.
woo, yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah.
got some like great angel investors in, and we were really happy. The final 3/4, it took me 9 months to close that amount of money. And the only way we got that close was by getting a big retail order from a big US retailer.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
And that's the fundraising environment that we're in today, is don't get big amounts of money without some sort of traction that is proved out. And yeah, so that was what it took for us to raise 12 months, a big retail order, and yeah, it was a hard year for us.
I was about to say, and I think again, it's that other thing of when we often hear such and such person has raised X million. There's, and for good reason, like congratulations and kind of admiration for it. But there's often not much chat in terms of what that took. And like you said, specifically in a post-COVID, post-lockdown world where the investment environment has changed profusely, and whether it's the amount of due diligence or just, the risk appetite has changed somewhat.
Yes.
How did you guys get through the raise? And I guess also, I mean, you mentioned that it was like incredibly stressful year because obviously you're still trying to like keep things going as much as possible. Did you still have that blind faith that like, yeah, for sure we're still going to do this? Or was there any point when you were like, oh, like, can we do this?
Never.
No, we've never had that.
No.
Yeah.
Never. Even this year, this year when things were tough.
We've had worse moments since then, to be fair.
Yeah.
And never once, I don't think either of us has wavered. I think a lot of it's about timing, and once you get rejected 10 times, you can be rejected 100 times, 1,000 times. Like, it doesn't hit the side anymore, does it?
Nothing.
Yes.
We've actually, Gem's like kept a tracker of everyone we've met, and there's like 650 people on there.
Yeah.
650?
Yeah.
And how many said yes of that 650?
40?
I feel like that as a stat is so, I mean, literally even this morning I put this thing on like, life as a numbers game, right? Is that you don't realize that the volume it takes in life to be successful or get lucky is huge. You might speak to 10 people. It could be anything. It could be life. You might go on 10 dates or 10 investor meetings or 10 whatever. And you're like, oh, well, I did 10, it didn't work. And it's like, yeah, but so-and-so next door is doing like 100. It takes a lot.
And it's, again, exposing yourself to it. You get match fit, very instantly. Like,
you're not going to get a deal on your first gig.
No. And if it is, it's kind of like, is this too good to be true? Like, I mean, feel like so many people start their own businesses because the structure of modern businesses doesn't suit them. It's like, okay, but now you do have another boss. This is called your investor and your board. You've now got to answer to them.
And to be completely transparent, we're not money people.
No.
We don't know many people really. There's no phone up your mate and ask them for 100 grand. Definitely not that.
Definitely not that.
So it's like, that adds complexity. We didn't necessarily run in those worlds, so we had to get into them though pretty quickly.
Yeah, I feel like we're very strategic in that mindset as well. Like you brought up dating, and we do say it is a bit like dating.
I mean, it's a bit like dating.
And you treat it as a sport in that sense. And and that could be quite an unpopular opinion, but I think like the type of brand that we are, like obviously like if you're like an AI tech brand, you might have a different personal brand, but like our brand is very sexy. It's very, it's obviously female focused. It's very personal, intimate in that kind of by its intrinsic nature of being shaving. So like you carry that and you have to feel very confident and hold that sort of sexuality almost of like what you're representing. And I don't know, that kind of has been a bit of a journey for us as well, because I think we learned what types of people and types of investors that this resonates with, because in the early months of like fundraising, we were talking to a lot of green investors, right? So like sustainability people.
Yeah.
I would get completely strange, like mad questions and criticisms around how do you dispose of the blade and like real like scientific questions. And I'm like, it took me a bit of time to be like, we are a personal care brand. I haven't got a PhD in material science. So quite frankly, that's irrelevant. Like that's irrelevant to the customer. The customer wants a really good shave product. And our footnote of our brand is about, social and environmental responsibility. These are our ethics. It doesn't mean that we are, putting that in front, like right at the front of the brand. It's just about having something that's future fit. And this is what I would advise all businesses, like get future fit. Consumers want to know that their products are clean. I hate that word, but like it's an easier thing to say, and clean beauty.
Yeah, exactly.
And like they want to know that it's really good quality and, it's not doing them a mischief. It's also, not putting microplastics out into the environment. Like that's okay to say that we have developed something that is planet safe, but it doesn't mean that we are two scientists out there like with the green cause. And I think that was quite early on that we were like, we're not hippies, we're just trying to create a really beautiful sustainable brand and show that sustainability can be sexy, and it's part of good design. Dieter Rams always say that it's like part of good design. It's not, you shouldn't be creating products that's so overly complex and full of terrible materiality. Like that's a part of good and democratic design. But so we sort of learned through that process that these aren't our people. We're in the wrong rooms. We need to get to people who understand what we're talking about and speak our language. And that took a long time. That took an element of genuine, embarrassing, cringe situations where it's so out of our character. We've both forged careers around being the backstop to another founder or another business owner. So we're so good at being behind someone. So at the beginning, we were like, no, you go. No, and then I'm like, oh. So we had this sort of push-pull a lot where it took time, I think, for us to find our own groove in our own dynamic.
That's such an interesting point, actually, that, I guess you'd both been more behind the scenes and obviously now you're the founders. How have you, obviously now you're, a few years in, how have you kind of tackled that? And I don't mean, obviously, there's a visibility in terms of with your investors and a visibility within the business. And there's also, I guess, the visibility, like the outward visibility, doing podcasts, doing interviews. How did you kind of get your head around that in terms of visibility and being public? How does that make you feel?
It's a work in progress.
It's a real work in progress for both of us. I
think we're really good in retailer meetings, investor meetings. We're really good. And
sales,
publicly facing. We're still working on it,
And what are you doing anything to actively work on it? I say this because I feel that, again, whether somebody has their own business or not, because I don't really think this is necessarily a podcast for founders per se. It's more for women and womanhood. But I feel like visibility as a thing shows up for women and presents in lots of different ways. It could be in their work, it could be in their relationships, their friendships. When you say that you're working on it, you're working at it, are you actually, what does that actually mean tangibly? Or is it just kind of exposure therapy and hoping for the best?
Early doors, I'd say exposure therapy. Yeah. When we were in Berlin, I never forget it, with the Amazon team, when we were the only female businesses. Oh, no, that's not true. We had Seep as well. Yeah. So Laura as well from Seep, who's amazing. He decided with each other to say let's say yes to everything, because we've got to this point where we've got these opportunities. How bad would it be if we bottle it and get all shy and we're like, oh no, I won't be filmed, or I won't do that. It was through pure exposure therapy, and some of it was so emotionally crippling for me personally, because a lot of the stuff like that the Barbican presentation, I was so nervous. The night before, I literally bathed in ice. I was I'm so, and it's not I can't, presentations is a part of my job, and speaking also something I genuinely love and super proud about. But there was just an element of it feeling existentially unusual to put myself in that position of hundreds of people being mic'd up listening to what you're saying. I was I'm so not prepared for this. So it was exposure therapy, I think, the first year.
I think it's also finding your medium, right? Because we hate LinkedIn. We'll never do it. Instagram we love. TikTok we're sort of learning about. It's a bit mental.
Can't not chat about OnlyFans and the conversation there. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong. My belief is TikTok banned the word razor. So you couldn't kind of show up in the way you wanted to on TikTok. So I have done my research. So you decided to do it in your own NIMBY way and took it to OnlyFans, which created, I feel honestly, one of the most fucking genius marketing things a brand could ever do. But tell me really, truly what led to that point and how you navigated it, and also what's kind of the situation, the status now.
Yes. So some of that is very true. So the shadow banning on intimate topics, which is there for a reason, by the way. But when we want to talk about the pubic razor and the pubic experience and all of that kind of thing, it's very, very challenging. Pubic experience. I'm an expert in the pubic experience.
I wish I was. Wow, you know.
Generally am. And then that's oh my God, sorry. That's research. But yeah, no, I just remember being on the bus and like getting so frustrated by it because I had all this amazing content and then I kept getting like blocked and I was like, say, and I was just like, oh my God, I just put it on OnlyFans, like a full vag tutorial, show the razor, make it again, like it's not about the male gaze. It's not like we're creating sexy content to be hyper horny. It's like we deliberately were provocative with creating content with amazing women, by the way. Some of the girls that produce content for us, like some of my favorite Instagram personalities, like Mons Monday, did like a whole amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, she's so great. And like talk through the education, because one of the things that is, again, another bias is like men traditionally, massive sweeping statement, but men will be taught how to shave. And weirdly, it's one of the only personal care routines that they have got more intel on than we do, where they actually imagine a man dry shaving their face. It would never happen. They always use the right steps, right? So it's something that is kind of more passed down.
God, this is such a good point that I've never, ever, ever considered as a woman. We don't get taught how to shave.
We don't get taught to shave. And a lot of our experiences were the same. So like people would just pick up any old razor, maybe their brother's razor or whatever, like in the shower, and you just like raw dog it down your shin, which is, again, I still got a scar from like that exact happening. And then, yeah, we started thinking about it and I'm like, okay, well, there's like this surge in complete lack of, there's a surge of demand, right? So like from a skincare point of view, we've all got like PhDs in skincare and hair care. Like we know like what ingredients work for us, and we're all like talking chemicals and niacinamide and hyaluronic acid. And I'm like, and then we just pick up any old crappy razor with like, honestly, the cheapest ingredients soaked on a polystyrene pad, and then we put it on our most intimate, sensitive area of our entire body, which has its own ecosystem, right? So it's kind of like, okay, there is an education thing, but how on earth do we educate without being childlike? And that's something that at Nimbi, I have no interest in saying like skirting around topics or, you know, making it like an illustration or that crap. I'm like, no, I want to actually see it. And that's where we started the journey. And I was so amazed that the girls that I wanted to do, and by the way, me too, as in like I've shown myself. I would never ask anyone to do something like. And actually, I have got like a lot of like nudity and everything in our brand. And I actually
hold on. So just so forgive me because I haven't looked at the content, but I'm now when. Yeah. Like
I'll send you the videos.
Yeah, I mean, what's happening? Like it's like literally like full flaps to the wind. Let's shave.
Yeah. No, we're gonna send it to you because it is emotional to see. Because I learned as a 43-year-old woman, I learned how to shave for the first time watching someone else shave like properly the vagina. It is unbelievable. This video that Mon did.
Yeah, Mon did is such a good job, and I think like. It's so silly just to say we got emotional, but it was just like such a kind of, it wasn't weird. That's why it was quite to watch. And we were all like, this actually feels great to like watch this and learn. And it feels natural and and intimate in a great way, in all the great ways. But yeah, it came about when we were interviewed by Forbes. So like, it was a very strange way for us to be like out in the public eye, and then suddenly
that's how it kind of came out that you were doing.
And I was getting quizzed on Forbes interview, and I'm like, I'm never going to be able to share this. But again, like now we're not shy, and it's much more open. We're in such different. It actually was quite the starting of showing intimacy, and all that's happened is a deeper connection with our audience, a deeper connection with our community. The more intimate and the more open we are, the better the brand is doing. And that to me is something that is hard to, it's very nuanced. It's something very unique, I think. But we haven't like gone too wild recently because we've been basically trading dermaplaners for like 6 months. So like only taking a backseat. But now we've got the new range. I've done like full badge tutorials and showing again like how the different products work. But it's all very light-hearted and like fun.
It's also in a way it speaks to, I guess, a greater issue now of the fact that, you know, you can't as a brand talk about these things in other media settings. Because actually, whilst it's so great that you have been able to find a place where you can, it would be better if you could have this education where the masses are, so that more people, I guess I feel like part of the DNA of your brand is surely kind of improving shave care for everybody, or making good skin safe shave care accessible for the masses. But the masses are obviously on TikTok, on Instagram, and they're not on OnlyFans. So it's kind of like,
we're trying to find a way
what's
to
the bridge?
do it on our own website.
Yeah, like password
encrypted. Also, we're trying to find a way around it, because obviously we don't want to get restricted from a web search perspective. So yeah, it shouldn't be this problematic.
Yeah.
But I think, again, like period care companies, there's a lot of like female health brands now that are pioneering some of this, and it's starting to change. But I do think it's like, by nature, it's quite graphic. You know, you're seeing a lot. But yeah, I think it was an amazing moment. And there'll be there'll be more. There'll be more.
It's so interesting as well. Like, you know, when you said that, you know, women aren't taught to shave in the same way that men are. And you think about all of the kind of, like, I think about shaving adverts for men, and it's quite often like, you know, a young boy looking up to his father and it's like mimicking him. And it just also additionally feels weird to me that we live in a society where having hair as a woman is so often frowned upon. Like, we must be this kind of like smooth, hair-free dolphin on one side, but on the other side, it's like, you have to have no hair, but like, let's not show you how to actually remove the hair in a safe way that still protects the skin and the ecosystem of the body part in which you were shaving. That duality of like, don't have it, but let us not show you safely how to remove it. And the fact that you're the first brand to do that is actually mind-boggling.
But what I would say is that is the white space that we saw, because bringing it back to money, every single white male investor that we spoke to was like, well, I've been using my Gillette Mach 3 for years and I would never change. So how are you going to make a woman change from a Venus? And we're like, yes, a woman isn't emotionally wedded to her razor. There's been no ritual passed down from dad or from uncle or from godfather. We picked up any old thing and hacked away. Most women don't even know the difference between a disposable razor and a system razor. Like, women are not educated about razor, and that was the opportunity that we really grabbed.
Over the last couple of years, and definitely I feel like we've reached a beautiful groove state with each other as well, is like our personalities have like, talking about personal growth and development, whether you're in your career or, like you said, like in your life, genuinely all of those components start to change and shift if one of them has a pressure point. So like, you might have like a relationship or you've had children or whatever it is, it's like putting pressure on you, and then you see growth in other areas. For us, it's been obviously Nimbi has put so much pressure. It's exposed us so in such a way that I never could have predicted. And then so our personal growth started to look different, feel different, see, like the whole experience daily is very, very different to how I was like 2 years ago. And now I think it's genuinely just more optimistic and positive and grounded in the daily reality, like today, and not future
when we've completed this fundraise.
It's like, no, now is all you've got. And that kind of mindfulness has sort of happened naturally just through the nature of surviving in a business. But it's helped our personal lives as well, of like, just feeling genuinely much happier every day and less anxiety, like spun out by thinking too much about the future or worrying about the past. You know, those are the sort of things. Being rejected hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. Again, it's very cliche, but it does make you just feel like, you can succumb a bit more and stop controlling outcomes. And I think that's helped us personally. Big time.
It's funny, isn't it? Because it's like, you know, even when you see the stats of, like you said, you know, you've met 600 plus people and 40 have said yes. If you look at it just from that perspective, you're like, oh, like, what are those odds? But if you compared that number to, you know, how many millions of investors there are in the world, then actually that stat it swings a lot more in your favor. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, actually, who cares? And I guess that kind of building that muscle, that resiliency to, he's like, oh yeah, like I got rejected, but guess what? I'm still alive. You know, I was talking to a hypnotherapist. I had hypnotherapy like a couple of years ago did a 12-week program. And, you know, you learn about all these kind of like somatic things as to why we don't like rejection. And it's like, you know, it comes down to literal survival mechanism. If you were ostracized by your community when we, you know, would be around a fire, you would literally die. But thank gosh we're in 2026. And if you get rejected, you won't die anymore. You just have to kind of, you know, get over it. And tomorrow's, or even you could have another meeting literally 10 minutes afterwards. You've got 10 minutes to regulate. You mentioned that you're not money people. And I always like on the pod when we speak about money, because I feel like a lot of people aren't quote unquote money people. And with that, and what I understood from you and what I mean is you didn't come from wealth or from money. When you don't come from a home life foundation that had the financial health and well-being, how does that then present itself in not only yourselves, the individuals, but also in the business? So I'm so curious and how you've navigated that, and maybe how your own personal attitudes to money have shaped the business and your risk appetite.
Yeah, I had like a real seminal career moment when I ran a family office. I worked with Duran Pasricha, an amazing entrepreneur, and just from being a spectator on his journey, I just made me go, wow, this is the way that money people think about money is wild. And it really opened my mind to what is possible. Like, if you've got an idea and you've got a path to execute it, you will get funding. Like, there are ways of doing it, there are processes to follow, there are plans to put together, and you will be able, once you get in front of the right person at the right time, you can get funding for it. And I think that opened my mind, because I've never been a part of that world before. And then in my training as a lawyer, it was all about avoiding risk, right? It's like your whole job as a lawyer is about being anti-risk. And so I went on this journey with this entrepreneur and learned how to sort of relieve myself from those shackles. Don't get me wrong, sometimes Anna still pushes it, and I'm like, no, we can't do that. What if money? We're not gonna it's not gonna work. So like, there is an element of me de-risking the business. And I think it's a really healthy balance between the two of us. And it's sort of, we'll come and have like this amazing idea, and it's my job to like find a way to help her execute it and de-risk it to a certain extent. Yeah.
Like good cop, bad cop. When you worked for that family office, was that really the first time that you were like, oh, okay, there can be a whole different way to do things?
I just, yeah, I didn't think I had it in me to be an entrepreneur. I didn't think that I had the right skill set. And then I sort of learned that no one really has the right skill set. It's about surrounding yourself with the people who've got, wherever your gaps are, fill them with amazing people. That's what he did. Championed it. It was, part of his ethos. So yeah, seeing that, understanding the processes, how to build out that business plan, how to pitch investors, I think that helped me in doing what we've done.
Helped us.
Yeah.
And then Anna, for you, what was your kind of like personal thesis with money before you started the brand and the business?
Yeah, I mean, I have definitely not had exposure in the same way Gemma has to like that level of kind of operation. I think for me, I maybe a little bit cringe, but I always have had like crazy ambition and drive just to get out of my situations.
Out of interest, why did you preface that with sounds a bit cringe?
Do you know? Because I kind of think sort of there's an element of like, it doesn't really matter. Like, you can come from anywhere. You can just wake up and decide to be like, fuck it, I'm just going to go for money. I'm just going to like be ambitious. I'm going to change my mindset about myself. So like, it's not like, I don't feel that just because I had a difficult beginning, and I don't know, you don't know what's shaped you, but I definitely have like an inner, like, I have to change this trajectory of my family where I can actually feel what security feels like. I want to know what that feels like. And that has been like such a drive. However, I could have just become a banker, but I didn't. I decided to forge a really sort of strange career that doesn't guarantee crazy money in any way. But I always felt that I was going to be here, not knowing specifically. I wouldn't say like, as a little girl, I dreamed of having a shaving brand. Like, that would be completely mental. But yeah, I think it's more like I knew that I was going to work for myself and have success. I just didn't see quite how that was all going to work.
Yeah.
And I actually had a business that I grew when I was 25.
I thought your
Shout
first
out to Alex
rodeo.
Theophanis. And I basically came on board and grew that like to 0 to 30 million. And
Wow. And
that's
what brand was that?
it's Alex and Alexa. It sold to a Swedish brand. And
Wow.
I made no money from it, by the way. Lots of people did. And some of them have now got very, very cool funds that
Wow.
haven't given us any money, by the way. So that's been completely meaningless life experience.
You're saying like it shouldn't matter kind of where you're from in terms of the drive and the ambition.
Yeah.
You know, it's actually clinically and scientifically proven now that genetically there is something in that. So actually
Really?
to be able to take yourself, because the brain likes patterns. So if, you know, 2 generations, 3 generations of a family have always been within a socioeconomic bracket, to be the one to get out of that requires an absurd amount of rewiring, not only of the brain, but actually the cells in your body, right?
I could talk about that as a topic, like a big topic. So, and again, I would say, invested a lot of energy into changing how I think, my health, and I'm got like a side hobby of learning about astrophysics.
Which we
And
love. I mean, we love
yeah,
a well-rounded woman.
yeah, no, I am, as you can tell, like a little bit like ADHD. I like to be stimulated with a lot of things.
What star sign are you?
Pisces.
And Gemma?
Libra.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, which kind of tracks actually.
You said that you know you do spend a lot of time in work. You know, I think again for me this intrinsic kind of thing is you can't separate the woman from the business. What
Definitely
is
now, they're
your
blended.
Yeah, for sure, you know, because how, like you said, it becomes you become so obsessed with it, you have to become obsessed with it that there's no possible way that it's an extension of you. It's like another limb, you know, so it's going to influence the rest of your body and your brain. What is your kind of your wellness toolkit to stay some semblance of sane?
There is so much.
So much.
Yeah,
I
let us know.
I meditate every morning. I actually have an autoimmune disease. So like my mornings are very, very difficult to get out and up.
Okay.
I used to kill myself going to the gym at like 6 a.m. and all this stuff. And it just absolutely like did not work for me. And now I'm like, I'm not exaggerating. And I know this is absurd. And people have children and proper lives. I don't have a real life, just to be clear. I have nothing. Like I'm on my own. I live in a studio flat. I don't have dependables apart from some like family dependables. So like I am in a very prime position to sort of be completely intrinsically selfish with how I operate. So like that's also worth noting. So yeah, I meditate in the morning and I meditate in the evening. It's like an absolute must because I need to keep myself regulated. Also are basically athletes.
Athletes?
No, I'm joking.
Oh.
I'm doing the high rocks though, so she is actually
cool.
But
you give me high rocks vibes actually. Yeah, you do.
That's really not a complimentary at all.
She's serious. So like we realized, I think like about like a year and a half ago, didn't we? Where we were like, we have again, like anxiety is like such a loose word. It's applied to so many different, like there's a whole gamut, right? There's like anxiety disorder and then there's like a kind of a good level of anxiety.
Yeah.
We got to a point where like our anxiety is impacting our lives. And then we just started exercising a lot and it completely transformed our lives. We take it seriously. We support each other.
Yeah.
Also, we're not rigid with our calendars, right? So like, as an example, if you wake up and you're having an off day, we'll talk to each other. I'll be like, do you know what, mate? Don't come in. Take 2 hours. Got this. We're not like that. Like, you read crazy stuff about entrepreneurs doing mad, like they almost want to suffer. We actually want our lives to be as easy as possible. That's also another message we don't want to suffer, like create as much as possible. So as much as we say like, we're obsessed, we are obsessed, but we also have a good time every
Yeah, we
day.
laugh every day.
Like, it's not about like Stephen Bartlett thing of like having a glass of wine, it ruins our lives. It makes us laugh so much. But that's again, like, different things work for different people. We're not those kind of people.
You have to remember, like, we're women in our early 40s. We have to look after ourselves. Our hormones are doing what they're doing. We have to approach entrepreneurship from a completely different angle.
Agreed.
Wellness is really probably one of the most important things that we do every day.
Because when we get unwell, which we have done. Yeah, I got really unwell last November. I was in hospital. I think that was the hardest time because you're like, you literally can't operate. So that's why we put it peak top. And we also look after our team who have a very lush experience, by the way, because we have a gym in our office. And there's
I've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it. You've seen it. And like, where the youngsters come in and we're like, this is not normal. Don't get used to it. Don't get comfortable in that sauna because they could all go. But yeah, no, we put it top of the pyramid. And that's, I would say, because when things start crashing, it really, really impacts everything. So yeah, we look after our health.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because again, it goes back to that point of when you see a lot of the kind of business podcasts or even business podcasts aimed at women, I never hear someone say, "Do you know what? Yeah, I'm obsessed with my business, but I also want to create a life of ease." You know, like, I want to grow and I want this business to be magnificent and either sell it or keep it or whatever the kind of, plan is. But there's meant to be balance because that's life, you know? If you're I was talking to a friend the other day and it's like we were saying that in the last couple of weeks, work has been so intense that work and work people have got the best of us. Therefore, when it comes to the weekend, your friends, your family, your loved ones are getting like this diluted, exhausted, like almost like non-verbal version of me. And I'm like, no, that's not how I want to live my life, you know?
Yeah. I have to admit, though, it would be doing a disservice to say that's not how we lived for the first year and a half.
Yeah.
Like, I
think, honestly, I think when we got to the point in our growth journey of being able to hire a good team, it really changed everything for us because it just meant that, we weren't the ones, amending an Excel sheet at 11:30 p.m. because we didn't need to do it at 11:30 p.m. because it had already been done at 4 p.m. So I think that has allowed us to really go on this wellness journey. But yeah, in the beginning when it was just the two of us, it was definitely different.
There's something that I didn't talk about when we were talking about money earlier that I think is probably like my peak frustration and misleading women is. So I've always had so much ambition around like earning money. I'm not a shy person in that kind of arena at all. But like some things that we get fed is like,
Ignore.
you should be thankful for getting a 20 grand bursary or like, and sometimes, again, me and Gemma are very outside this where we find that women get put in like a sandpit of like, they release money for the women to do like playful things and it's all very kind of nice and you should be grateful and all that kind of stuff. And we are hyper ambitious and hyper aggressive when it comes to money and getting money. And we want women to be more like that and not think, can I say female investors do this to women? It's all perpetuating the same nonsense, which is like, throw a 20 grand, check here and a 30 grand check here and a 10. That is not enough. Like, you're never going to compete if you want to seriously scale our business. And I feel like as well as women, we have to prove that we can do it on our own. And you have these amazing stories where like, even like brands like P. Louise, right? So she's built something like absolutely enormous in the UK. It's like, you can't miss it. And like they're like crunching there, like from the beginning, you have to have this sort of intense rags to riches story in order for it to be like warranted to have any level of like serious interest. And I just think that that's where there's like a sexist divide in terms of entrepreneurs. But again, that's something that like we see a lot in the media, I would say, that's very misleading. Female funds.
I agree. I also think not only is it gender, but I also think there's a very Anglo-centric attitude towards it.
Yeah.
When I speak to people American women, and just because of the nature of how America is set up, and, you know, they're like the absolute like mascots of modern capitalism.
Yeah.
The way in which a woman in America is allowed to talk about money versus a woman in the UK, I think is very, very, very different. And I agree with you. My frustration is the same. There's always this thing of, oh, you should be grateful, you know, like whether it's a bursary, a grant, or it's a pay rise, or it's a job, you know, we've all kind of, you know, the three of us work in industries that are always very much, oh, you should be grateful to be here. Like a million girls would die for this job. But it's also like, yeah, but they probably wouldn't if they knew how much the pay was or how much the pay wasn't. You know, we're trying to build a life that you love. Um, and ultimately, how can we encourage women, again, regardless of what their kind of career ambitions are, but how can we encourage women to want more if they don't even know what that more looks like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it does come to self-worth. And
100,
I
100%.
think that's the big thing that I unlocked this year. And that's, again, my personal life, that's everything. Is like deep down not really having like true self-worth, like
Mm,
in a kind of proper holistic way, and seeing and looking at like the people that I admire and what they stand for and their standards and their benchmark and their
Yeah.
foundations, like really thinking, actually, I don't have that. I kind of can act it, but it's not true.
And
But
like to your point, the Americans, we spend a lot of time in the
we
US
love,
and we love it
yeah,
because we get to be those women in the US
yeah.
and we don't get made to feel stupid about it, or, you know, like we're sort
oh,
of
agreed.
stepping outside of our zones.
Yeah, greedy
Over
is another one.
there, they absolutely love it.
Yeah, from the get-go, Gemma and I both aligned that we were gonna be a US first company. Like, there was, like, absolutely no way that we were gonna do it any different.
It's
And
interesting because that's such a it's actually that point that Gemma mentioned when I randomly met you guys in the office. Such a very, very another strange Monday. It was that thing that when she said that and I was like, you need to come on the podcast because that for me was the differentiator. I was already working on what this new season would be, people that build
Yeah.
differently. And then you were like, oh yeah, we launched in America first. And I was like, oh, hold on, sorry, what? Like, and I can, there's you and there's also Jules Miller who owns the Newco supplement
yeah,
brand
Yeah.
who
yeah,
also launched in the US first. Obviously her also for different reasons because the supplement business in the US was far maturer than it was in the UK at the time. But actually
Right.
she then has moved to the UK, but also now moved back to the US again now, so she's back over there. But what was your decision in launching in the US first? It's funny that I'm asking this question literally an hour in because that for me was like the thread of the we've talked about money and worth and all these other like actually fantastic things. But what why did you want to launch? Did you decide to launch in the US first?
There's actually quite a few reasons why
yeah,
we did it. I think number one, again, doing it in your 40s, having experience, seeing what works and what doesn't, it's really difficult to be a British brand launching in the US. It's expensive, you know, and so for that reason, we definitely wanted to do it. And then when we did all the calculations on the business plan and the numbers, and we were like, there's absolutely no way we're going to be able to pull this off in the UK
Yeah, the
alone.
market's
We're
just
just
too
not going to be
small.
able to. But not
Yeah.
even that. It's just the risk appetite of retailers and consumers in the UK is fundamentally different to the US. Like in the US, innovation is celebrated, innovation is given a pathway to success. And I think that, you know, in the UK, you talk to certain retailers and you show them a pre-launch product and they're like, that's so great. Come back to us when you've got 100,000 followers on Instagram. And it's like, that doesn't, I mean, you know, people do that, but not when they've got to raise £1 million before they can even produce a product. Yeah.
Mm,
So we had to, for that reason, that was another reason why we went to the US as well.
I just like, yeah, I think the scale is, there's a lot of effort that you have to do just launch in the UK as well. It's not like it's an easy click your fingers and you like, there you are, you're like land on the beach
Yeah.
shelf. So like we knew that it's a volume play, like it's
yeah.
personal care. We had to prove out kind of a mass concept. That means that you need to sell, 850,000 razors in your first few, first couple of quarters. So how are you going to do that? You're not going to do it on D2C. We started with a really affordable product. We did disposables first and knew that, once you can get a retail contract, then that builds trust, credibility, because that's where people buy razors. Like, yes, there are D2C brands, and we know a lot of them, who have successfully, built an audience on D2C, but it's also cost them shit ton of money, like millions. Right. So I also knew that. I knew the CPA of what our competitors were working with to like acquire customers. Whereas you can get a contract into Target and you get a set order and you've got revenue like that. Doesn't mean it's like the best way to build your brand in terms of a long tail strategy, but it was the risk that we wanted to take. To Gemma's point, we sold in our dermaplaner on like generally a 3D printed prototype into Target.
Wow.
Yeah, and then it became the number one dermaplaner in Target.
What was when you first went, because presumably at the time the team it would have been you two having that going to that meeting.
Yeah.
What was that initial reception like? They kind of, you're at the head office, you've got these two, English girls come over with the prototype. How did that go? What was the reception? Were they like, wow, cool, like this is just what we've been looking for, or looks innovative, or like, what was the initial reception?
I mean,
they're like, you're mad. Like, what was it?
I mean, this is like totally my wheelhouse. So like, I love selling to retailers. And honestly, I love the process. They give you like a slot, by the way. You can't go over 15 minutes and then you have 5 minutes for questioning. So you have to have a proper classic pitch.
Yeah.
And I live for it. So we didn't say, oh, well, this is a prototype. That's you're not too honest. If I'm honest, we're not honest.
Yeah.
So when you're selling in, you don't talk to that effect. You say like, this is the product, it's ready to go, right? So we just lied, if honest. But they were so brilliant, so receptive. The buyer loved the concept. Bearing in mind, these are shaving buyers. They sit with P&G every single year and literally discussing like,
should we put glitter on that?
Yeah. Like, what's the promo? They're not, people aren't coming to them with crazy innovation, and they loved it. They knew it was a risk. She had crazy high hopes. We got a little bit sold down the river on our targets at Target. And that meant that by being and owning space, we had a 2-foot block next to Venus and
wow.
You then have to match their rate of sale. That is something that I have to admit a UK retailer would not do. But it's the US, and you have to like own your space. And we did. We had a SKU that became number one. They're super happy with it. Mm. We all parallel to this though. This is where me and Gemma are hilarious in terms of our dynamic. So like we were already designing our system razor before we'd even got to market. And I'm like, I need 300 grand to do the mold. She's like, absolutely fucking not. Like, it was just like hilarious, like thinking about like trying to sort of convince each other, like we're going to need a system razor and it's going to take a long time. So we have to start now and we have to invest in it. But we also sold in the system razors to Target at that point with nothing. It wasn't even real. And she was like, yeah, okay, I'll buy it. And then this is where we negotiated on price. And we realized, oh my God, this is never going to work. What we want to do is a prestige beauty play. So it was a gift to go into Target because it taught us everything about the unit economics of what actually has become a new blueprint for a shave care brand. I'd be lying to say that we had that insight at the beginning. We knew we wanted to be different, but we were in our heads, we had already created a ceiling of it needs to be no more expensive than Venus. Otherwise we'd be screwed. There's no way that we'd be able to do it. And then obviously having retailer meetings like with Ulta, these are like top beauty players who see innovation every day. That's where our complete mindset changed, is having all the VPs. We were, again, very lucky, very persuasive, still not really sure how it all worked. I could probably write it down and give people the insight, but I don't really know. We really sold in this idea of the skinification of shave and this whole new blueprint. And they were like, yes.
And what they said was there's no ceiling.
There's no ceiling.
In terms of price. Make it the best experience possible. don't be limited by price, because people will spend money
Yeah.
in our building. People spend money on good product. And that was when we were like, okay, we're going to build a beautiful system razor.
Yeah.
And we're going to charge more money for it than anyone else is charging for system razor. And yeah, we're going to build a whole system of beautiful body care around it.
That is like actually amazingly clinically tested on all hair types, because what is shocking is razors aren't regulated. They certainly haven't been tested on all the hair types that, are out there.
Of course.
And it's very fascinating once you start unlocking that. We do extraordinary amounts of testing for a beauty brand. It's like insane. So we do clinical testing, then we do like derm testing on sensitive and reactive skin, because that's something really important to us, because that is completely underserved. Like if you've got serious skin problems. And then we do user testing. And then once it's out, we do more user testing. So all in all, before a product's reached shelves, it's touched like 400 people. Like,
wow.
And it is insane now I'm saying it out loud, but we don't trust ourselves because we have so much bias. So to do really good product design, and you are competing with Gillette, let's say, who have got the
200 million to spend on R&D.
Yeah, exactly.
Genuinely 200 million. So it's a really, really pressured thing. The only thing I would say is they're spending it in a really weird way. They're spending it more on engineering, number of uses. They're not spending it on what's the skin impact, which I found really, because we went to one of the labs where Gillette actually.
Wow.
This is where like powers of persuasion is super weird and takes you into strange rooms. So it's actually a company in Gloucester.
Wow.
And they've got, it's amazing. And they do like aero engineering, Formula One, tolerance, even ammunition, where they've got these machines that test tolerances. And this is where we assessed all of our blades, and we did our own quality control of the blades. And honestly, these boys did it for free. This is where like you got to play the cards you've got. Like the guys, I was like, I'm going to come to your office. I'm going to shave my vag in front of you. Does that sound all right? And they're like, yeah, we'll sort out some sandwiches. It's super
So when you turned up to Gloucester,
it was weird. And I brought two of my friends, and we just did like different tests, and like we use all the machinery. And I said it out loud because like Gillette will come and sue us for using their machines. But yeah, so like we got to find different weird ways to get in weird rooms, and it will take you in a strange direction. But yes, I think our range now, as much as been so tiring and such a slog to get to where we are with the range that we've got, it is purely skin first. The sustainable element, we developed all of that engineering way before. So that's not really part of our vernacular. It is all about skin. It's all about the result. How do you get the most buttery, soft skin long term? That's it. Long term skin health is like our goal. And we want it across the board of all different types of hair and different types of skin.
I'm so conscious of your time because it's now 1:05.
Music can never shut us up.
No,
me.
I could keep going for ages. Like I find it really hard to wind these things down because I just want to know more and more. And like when I say that I have not even touched like anything on this list, like I really haven't. But I think in a way that's what kind of makes a rich conversation, right? And I think sometimes I always send questions over, but I'm like, we might not even look at these questions. I want to end it. The kind of spine of At Face Value is the kind of origin stories of the brand and the decisions that you took. And then it always ends on like you two as the women, as we said, behind the brand, which you as we've said before, you kind of can't divide yourself out of that. Obviously, it's still super early on in the brand, and you're now in Boots, which is super exciting. Your kind of first major UK retailer over here. In terms of for you guys, and it's interesting again speaking to co-founders about it, but what does success and like enoughness look like for the both of you? And you, again, obviously, you'll probably have different answers to this, and it could be a business-led answer or a life-led or a hybrid.
We have sort of the same, don't we?
Yeah, because I think personal and business is now one for us and in each other's lives. And I think that you do have to confront success. And I say confront because it doesn't arrive quickly or easily, and you have to be able to enjoy the journey. So I would say we're already successful because we have put something out into the market that we think is absolutely mint, and we love using, and we love, our friends love it, and we get to come to work every day and have fun. I think financial freedom as women in our 40s is absolutely what financial success looks like. I've read somewhere the other day, and when I say read, probably just saw it on TikTok.
True.
Is like women, you know, successful women is like, you know, I want a nice house, and successful men is like, I want to be a billionaire and own other humans. So like, I think for us, we do have really, really, we're super ambitious for Nimbi, but like personally, honestly, we don't, you know, we don't want to be worrying about paying bills at the end of the month. Like that's really where we are at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was about to say, actually, I kind of was like a follow up to that. Like, what is financial success? Because again, we hear that a lot when I'm like, what does that mean? Like, is that a number for you, or is that a feeling? Is that is it a not worrying?
Well, I've gone a bit of a journey because talking about my Delulu, like wild belief, I've been sitting with like paper where I've written over and over and over and over 200 million, 200 million, 200 million, 200 million. Nimby in every girl's bathroom. Like these are like my inner drives when when your back's against the wall, you're like, just remember like the ambition. That said, I would say like my personal value of my own like personal like wealth is very, very, very minimal and basic. It's like I have very little needs now, mainly because Nimby's taken everything. I'm not even kidding. I'm so adjusted to not doing anything.
Half of Anna's furniture's in our office.
Genuinely.
So funny.
So true. But like I've had like a bit of a decimated like experience, but it's kind of wild how peaceful that's made me, and also more grounded daily. Like I don't have a desire to be like to Gemma's point, like we do talk about this now much more than we used to, because I think again we're trying to enjoy where we're at right now, and also like genuinely say like, fuck man, it's really hard to do stuff. Anyone out there doing something and putting something out into the wild should already feel like the top 1%, maybe even higher. Like it is so tough to do something, and most people don't. And like we sit there and we go, thank God, like we got to a point where we like decided to take risk. And we always say like, we'll always get a job. Well, if we fail, who cares? Like, okay, used to get wrapped up in like, oh, we spent all of our life saving and we have to build our life from scratch. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, at least I've become a better person through this process.
Yeah.
But I do want to have some money, just to be clear. As if there are any M&As listening, I would love some cash. No, but I think like I write down. I'm very, very
journal.
I'm a writer. Like I just want to have freedom and like to throw my phone over a cliff and never see it again. And then I'll be back down there, like clambering around, seeing if Gemma's text me. Like,
yeah.
It's like, what are you doing? What are you eating? You know, like so I think, it's changing as we go through the process is the honest answer. And I think one thing we definitely won't do, and we've got friends who are other founders, we've got friends who work in other startups that are doing very well. We will never get to that scale and hold on and cling for like some kind of like perfect deal or anything like that. I think that would be catastrophic for us. So we've kind of got a different mindset. Yeah.
It's interesting. I always think about Sophia Amoruso, you know, of Nasty Gal, and she's like, when the deal comes, just take it, because you never know when it's going to come
Don't have
again.
an ego about it.
Yeah, just sell it and move on with your life, guys. This has been such a rich conversation, and I'm so like, I guess, just honored that you've been just so honest and real and yourselves. So I just think that's the whole point of what this podcast is meant to be. Like, it's not stuffy. We can talk about I mean, literally anything and everything. And that's what makes it so good. And I think, you know, for me to be able to have this conversation, I mean, the guest before you is the founder of Prequel, who launches into
Oh,
Space
yeah.
NK
Yeah.
tomorrow. And it's funny because her enoughness, you know, success was that she can kind of not work for 48 hours and just be fully with her friends, with her family, with her son. And it's just interesting how to clarify, she's not there yet. This is a board
Yeah.
certified dermatologist, also running a startup. But the enoughness is very rarely like a number. It's more like a feeling and a sentiment, and just, you know, centered around, it seems quite often, safety or security with fun mixed in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's not
I
like
think
I
that's
want a yacht.
yeah.
But isn't that such a great lesson no matter what you're doing
Yeah.
in life? Like if
Exactly.
you're an employee or you're like, you know, you're going through parenthood at that point, like there's so many things that could apply to where, yeah, you're essentially saying like it's about feeling safe and
Exactly.
secure
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever that looks
and
like.
grounded.
Yeah, whatever
Yeah.
that means for
Whatever that
you.
means for you. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think, yeah, a yacht, oh my God. Yeah, no, that kind of, I think is very far from anyone's true, like,
Literally, when
life
you break it
ambition.
down.
Although I'd love a nice, long, like, tall ship, like a Viking tall ship.
There we are.
Well,
That's a
NIMBY brand trip pending in 2 years on a
Oh, I'll sail you away up into the Antarctic.
Thank you both so much, and we'll hopefully speak to you very soon. That was Anna and Gemma of Nimbi. What stays with me is that one of them sold their home to fund the first prototype. That's the kind of belief that this actually takes underneath clever marketing and beautiful design. And that for all of their ambition, they kept coming back to wellness, to self-worth, and to what enough really means. Also, it was really fun having a conversation with co-founders because it just made such a rich chat. And honestly, we could have kept going for hours. If today's show resonated, please like, comment, subscribe, follow so that you can get access to the next episode. And I will see you with another woman who has done it her own way very soon. This has been At Face Value.